have learned that unity is a gift we simply receive. Once we have received it, though, we may need some practical suggestions on how to give witness to it. One of the foundational practices of Christian unity is dialogue, talking and listening with the goal of understanding and moving forward together. Despite the spectrum of beliefs on a variety of theological points and social issues, Christians are called to come together in dialogue to understand each other and to learn from one another. True dialogue, in which we listen with the goal of understanding, can be quite challenging. In his book, More Light, Less Heat, the Reverend Dr. Joe Phelps reminds us just how challenging it can be. Most of us are naturally defensive. We tend to have a limited ability to tolerate disagreement, particularly disagreements about our faith and religion. And many people have scars from past wounds inflicted by adversaries. In the midst of all this, we do not do a good job of teaching and practicing the art of careful listening and speaking. All these issues come together to make dialogue today a difficult calling. As Wesley R.E.R. Ajah once wrote, "True dialogue is a challenging encounter. It is not for the faint-hearted." But even in spite of all the challenges, true dialogue can also be quite rewarding. So how does one begin to learn the art of careful listening and speaking? It starts small, with a little preparation and practice. In order to engage in a serious, open, and vulnerable exchange of ideas, opinions, and beliefs, some basic groundwork must be laid. A source you might not think to turn to for advice on the topic of dialogue provides an excellent basic foundation: the Federal Highway Administration of the United States of America. They have 6 suggestions for making a conversational group the best it can be. 1, a carefully crafted agenda with 5 or 6 major questions at most. 2, emphasis on gathering perspectives, insights, and opinions of participants through conversations and interaction. 3, identification of major points of agreement and divergence of opinion. 4, minimal presentation of material to set context and subject. 5, gleaning, not shaping, of opinions or perspectives. 6, 8 to 12 participants. And 7, understanding that the participant's role is to give personal insights and perspectives. These suggestions are a significant shift from how we think of meetings and conversations. Most often we prepare to present or defend our position. And yet, that is the exact opposite of what these suggestions invite us all to do. This invitation to dialogue is a part of our DNA as Methodists. From the beginning of our movement, the people called Methodists have known the power of dialogue as a witness and as an opportunity to allow the Holy Spirit to work within us for good. We, in fact, call this process of dialogue, in which we allow the Holy Spirit to work within us, holy conferencing. John Wesley felt strongly about conferencing. He saw it as a spiritual practice and named it as a means of grace, alongside Bible study, fasting, prayer, participating in the sacraments, acts of mercy, and worship attendance. It was through the process of holy conferencing that the Methodist movement became its own faith communion in America, known in the beginnings as the Methodist Episcopal Church in America. Over the years, holy conferencing has shaped the faith communion. During the summer of 2007, the United Methodist Church hosted its global gathering of young people ranging from ages 12 to 30 in South Africa, known as the Global Young People's Convocation. The young people in attendance employed holy conferencing as their means for speaking together about the future of the church. We can change the world through honest conversation, they said, on matters in which we are passionate. And as we have said, they didn't just say this, they set forth rules by which they would organize their conversation on the difficult topics before them. 1, every person is a child of God. Always speak respectfully. One can disagree without being disagreeable. 2, as you patiently listen and observe the behavior of others, be open to the possibility that God can change the views of any or all parties in the discussion. 3, listen patiently before formulating responses. 4, strive to understand the experience out of which others have arrived at their views. 5, be careful how you express personal offense at differing opinions. Otherwise, dialogue may be inhibited. 6, accurately reflect the views of others when speaking. This is especially important when you disagree with the position. 7, avoid making generalizations about individuals and groups. Make your point with specific evidence and examples. 8, make use of facilitators and mediators. 9, remember that people are defined ultimately by their relationship with God, not by the flaws we discover or think we discover in their views and actions. The young people knew something that John Wesley believed and something that we have already discussed before. John Wesley believed that in general, he might not be right about everything, and that he must be mistaken about some respects of his own faith. He was convicted about his faith, but yet approached others with humility. It was this same approach that I took prior to the 2012 General Conference with guidelines I set forth for our difficult conversations. 1, every person is a child of God. 2, listen before speaking. 3, strive to understand from another's point of view. 4, strive to reflect accurately the views of others. 5, disagree without being disagreeable. 6, speak about issues. Do not defame people. 7, pray in silence or aloud before decisions. 8, let prayer interrupt your busyness. These lists are just examples of the work that must go into setting up holy, constructive conversations with others. The dialogue doesn't have to be a global gathering of young people or a general conference. It can be a gathering among people in our own churches and even our communities. Setting up guidelines and principles will help us learn how to collectively speak even when we disagree. And this is part of the work of being an ecumenist and building ecumenical relationships.